This is an interview for Writing in Digital Environments. Will you please state your name and give a brief job description?
Yes, I'm Dr. Lori Tanner, and I actually wear a couple hats. I'm the director of the QEP Step Up program for the campus, and I'm also a faculty and instructor. I teach here in the School of Education.
Would you like to tell me more about the Step Up program?
This is an initiative that has been required by our accreditation for us to show some sort of a quality enhancement plan. We've decided as a campus to make this a student technology enrichment program. And so the idea is that we're going to enhance students' use of technology, make this campus digitally literate, have good digital citizenship, and that students will carry this technology through their career at the university and then have the technology skills when they graduate.
So our focus is on electronic textbooks and how they could enrich the classroom. When were you first introduced to eText?
Way back, about 1998 is when I first had it. And I'm going to read some of the notes that I'd written for you. Back then, publishers were just starting to include web resources in textbooks. And I was a public school teacher back then. And you were starting to see those showing up in the back with a CD-ROM, maybe have some extra articles. So very slowly the transition came where it was an added benefit to a hard copy textbook. And then obviously journals, academic journals were starting to be published online, and libraries had started moving away from the old-fashioned card catalog where you'd thumb through it to having an electronic database. That was my first experience with it. It was probably back as long ago as '98.
So what were your preconceived notions about digital textbooks when they were introduced?
If you look around my office, I have books. If you went to my home, I have hundreds and hundreds of books on bookshelves. I was an English major in my undergraduate degree. I hold books. I flip through books. I dog-ear books. But in the beginning, I was not an advocate of it. There were good reasons for having digital resources because the web was just coming out. But as far as would I want to have a textbook in my hand, yes, because I like to thumb through the pages. I like to look at the pictures. I like to stick my finger in, turn to the index, go into the glossary, and I couldn't see that happening in the early days of electronic textbooks. So I was skeptical, needless to say. I don't know if I'll ever give up the tangible touching of the book, but I do see a purpose in the e-textbooks. I really do. And I will admit, I own a Kindle, and I'll read novels on my Kindle.
So what do you think are the key differences between textbooks and e-books?
And now when I teach technologies, and I've got probably 45, 50 technology books on my bookshelves here, as soon as those books are published and purchased, they're already out of date. And that's a disadvantage to the traditional publishing, the hard copy book. Unless it's a classic that you're reading or a novel. But as far as reference and resource, those can be changed so dynamically if they're e-text. As quick as history changes, as quick as industry changes, as quick as geography and borders and countries. And some school districts are still using hard textbooks, and Russia is USSR. So those things. And that is an advantage with the e-text. If you get 100% adoption, where a university wants to really buy into the program, then the student owns the book and the updates continually, even at graduation. So if something, especially in the professions, the medical fields, if a new drug's discovered, if a new procedure is done, a best practices changes, that's updated in the textbook. And you don't have, like I do, a shelf full of outdated technology books. How many of my students, as having taught, don't buy the book because they can't afford the book? And so they're hoping they can read somebody's, maybe run to the library, look and see if the library's got it, or try to wing it through class without ever reading the textbook and guess on the exams and really kind of fake it. They're not getting the knowledge that they should. So that's where e-text will influence students. If I require you in my class to have an e-textbook, I need to force somehow that this become a fee, part of the course, part of your tuition. It's like a lab fee, that if you were taking the biology class, you pay a lab fee. Everybody in that class buys that book. Then the publishers drop the price as much sometimes as 80%. So a $50 textbook can suddenly become $5.
That's incredible.
That's really where the power of e-text comes. It's not just buying a book for your Kindle or finding that, textbook online. It's getting a university and professors to say, I will require this e-text, and every student has to pay the fee. And that text then is, everybody has to buy it. The publishers will drop the price dramatically because they know 5,000 students at USC Upstate will be purchasing books. They won't be going to eBay, they won't be going to Amazon and buying the used books. They will buy the textbook from the publisher.
As a professor, how do you see students dealing with the bring your own device to class problem?
This is a good question, because I'm right now on the committee for pushing the bring your own device, or BYOD, and what we're going to discover, and this is typical, you're going to have the early adopters, the faculty that have the newest gadgets all the time, and this is great, I want to have every student in my class with a smartphone and a tablet, but then you have your traditional, more my generation, who are used to standing up and lecturing, and I forbid electronic devices in my classroom. I don't want to see a computer. That cell phone's in view, I'm going to ask you to leave. Very resistive, thinking that all students are doing is checking email and Facebook. We've got to change the culture, all right? And so I don't think the students are going to be the resistors as much as your faculty. If we introduce the BYOD, the bring your own device, simultaneously with e-text, but we don't say you have to do this, whether we allow the early adopters and we start making a transition, that will change. Then the culture will change. And I can remember working at different universities and working in public schools when email first came out. Serious resistance to email. Very serious resistance. 15 years later, nobody can imagine writing a little memo and sending it to somebody slowly, snail mail. Everything is email.
So, do you think that moving towards the digital in classroom is a good thing?
I don't think it's good or bad. I think it is. We don't have a choice. It is. And we're a global culture. We are digital as a society. We can't get around that. We have instant everything. And we are a digital culture. And education is lagging. And it's lagging behind the professions, and it's lagging behind industry. And we're being pressured. As a university, we're being pressured to create digitally competent, literate professionals, people to fill these technology rich jobs. I mean, we can't chisel the lecture in stone anymore. We have to start embracing the technology at the university level.
Is there anything else you would like to tell me that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet?
Some really key things we do have to keep in mind. One will be a revenue issue. Your bookstores are going to resist. Your university bookstores will resist the e-text. And that, because there's a markup, that's a revenue maker for them. So that has to be addressed and very gently transform them to maybe the gatekeeper of the tablets that the students buy. It has to be 100%. You can't say to the students, well, you can buy the hard copy or you can buy the e-copy. The discount won't come unless you get 100% buy-in. And one dear to my heart is the digital divide. I can say, bring your own device. I can say e-textbook. But can I guarantee every student has a smartphone or a tablet, a laptop, and when they leave campus, do they have internet access? Can they get that textbook if they're off campus? You know, we can't alienate the students that can't afford or don't have access. Might be living rural and can't get internet. So those are big ones for me.
Thank you for meeting with me. And
well, thank you for doing this project.